Hello and welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is FreightWaves. Now I'm Anthony Smith here alongside Thomas Wasson. And Thomas, we have a great guest coming up now to kick off the second hour of content.
We definitely do. It is Mr. Felix McNair, Senior Director of Supply Chain Solutions here at Kinco. And we're going to have him on the show and talk a little bit about, e-commerce and automation. Felix, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So diving right in, there's a lot going on in warehousing, especially in terms of labor shortages and other issues with not only trying to find the product, but even move it out. When we're looking at automation, how big of a deal do you think this is going to be?
I mean, I think it has been a big deal, and it's going to continue to be even more so as we move further into the future. It's absolutely high on a lot of the priority lists that we're seeing.
And definitely, Felix, when you look at this automation and the trend that you're seeing in e-commerce, this is something that Kinco has really been ahead of the curve on. This is not something that you guys are all new to. It's something that you've been working on. What are some of the strategies as you look towards e-commerce, or some of the trends that you really have to be kind of cognizant of when kind of implementing this? What are some of the high-level things?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we have an innovation lab, and so our goal for a number of years now has been to be ahead of the curve as best we can. So in the lab, we do testing of different types of automation. We're constantly looking for ways that are either interesting for customers or within the space. And then as it relates to e-commerce, just paying very close attention to the changing dynamics in the marketplace, and recognizing that every operation, every company is different, and so the volumes, the profiles, the attributes that are required are very critical to the design of an automated type solution. So, we're really paying attention to. In this stage, really the key is kind of flexibility around some of the dynamics in the marketplace, and so that's what's going to be critical.
I like your point on flexibility. Right now with everything going on, a lot of customers are either getting caught unprepared or some of them have been prepared. Is there something that when you're approaching it, I know Kinco does a lot in terms of warehousing as well as LTL truckload shipments. How does that, how does it impact it? Does it make it more complex when you kind of do everything in-house, or is this, when you're looking in your lab, is it more customer focused, or are there ways to actually improve your own operational capacity?
Well, it's both. And so certainly as we're looking at each customer, there's a customization piece that has to be paid attention to, because circumstances do vary across the board. But there's some standards as well. So as we're looking at an operation, one of the keys is understanding some of the dynamics associated with them. And so again, you have to dig in at a customized level. It really just depends on the details on the ground.
And Felix, can you talk to a little bit about some of the advantages? So I know, of course, when you look at some of the automation, there's efficiencies, there's standards, there's things that you can go to expect because these things are automated. And of course, I think the big one, scalability. Can you talk to some of those trends that we see with those automation and really how that creates an advantage for everyone?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. With every business process, it starts with understanding the requirements and developing a standard flow that can support those business requirements. Traditionally, we still do this, a lot of work within our teams to drive engagement and to really ensure that everybody across the board is following a standard process that meets those objectives. And when it comes to automation, some of the difficult challenges that we have is consistency from the labor market. And so we've gone in both in terms of semi-automation and full automation, different aspects, different technologies to ensure consistency and standardization of the process. And it enables us to then have employees focus on some of the variable components that aren't necessarily standard at all times. From a scalability standpoint, we've always leveraged automation that made financial sense, of course, that cost justifies the spend. And when it comes to in this marketplace, oftentimes it's having the ability to scale up volume to meet whatever the demand is. And sometimes that's significantly higher when you're looking at a peak type situation, and other times it's lower, and it's easier to scale automation up and down than it is with a workforce.
I like the point of talking about the workforce as well as scalability. Are there any low-hanging fruit? So let's say I'm a customer, I want to come to Kinco, and I need some help storing my product. For a lot of these customers, and I used to be a broker, you get experience where some of them are very familiar with it, and some of them it's a very scary word. How would you explain automation to someone who wants to, I'm expanding, I need more space. What are some low-hanging fruit that I can have that'll immediately help me add some value, if we wanted to automate some processes?
Yeah, so we do have multi-client facilities, and that's one example of how you can leverage a network like Kenco's. So we would have capacity both in terms of storage and inventory space, also in terms of different types of automation, and we use everything across the board from conveyors through robotics. We've got goods-to-person systems, and then a number of operations that have semi-automated type things, so carton erectors, case sealers, and things of that nature. And so from a customer that's dealing with growth or dealing with some changes in their supply chain, we do have capacity that we can leverage. We've got systems in place. And then we've also partnered with customers and invested with customers to help build automated type opportunities along with them. So where they might have uncertainty, and we've got a proven process and a proven technology, we're willing to go in and invest with them to help them realize the benefits without necessarily having to figure it all out on their own.
And Felix, one of the things that you just mentioned, I don't want to kind of get lost in any kind of this conversation, is cost justifies the spend. I think that's a really good point and a great point. Can you talk to some of the variables? Because of course, automation isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all. What are some of the variables that you look at when you look at, hey, this is going to be the right solution for you?
Well, let me start with, for a long time, any sort of automation required a pretty significant capital spend. To justify that spend, oftentimes automation would have to be basically working around the clock, so 24/7, and it's running output. So you can imagine that only certain circumstances, volumes, and profiles would make sense to go with that sort of an investment requirement to be able to pay for itself. Now what we're seeing is we just need to be able to pick and ship products for customers, and oftentimes that, coupled with the fact that costs have come significantly down, there's new technologies and new innovations in the marketplace as well. So it's kind of met to a bit of a sweet spot that enables automation to be something that we can roll out and support customers without necessarily having to have such a hard cost justification analysis to pay back.
I really like that point, especially trying to work with customers on cost. You want to grow organically, you want to develop with them and kind of make it a partnership. Right now, retail, not only retail space, but especially warehousing space is in super, super high demand. How do you predict, is this something where we just need to buy more warehouses, or do you think the automation and what you all are working on is kind of an easier, quicker solution than just, starting it from scratch, so to speak?
Well, I think there's probably going to be a number of strategies to go after that. But as an example, within facilities that we have, we've got arrangements with suppliers and partners that enable us to, for example, lease automated equipment. And so we're able to ramp up and scale those very quickly. We're able to flex those when volumes are up versus down. And so, again, it really comes with, it depends on the certain circumstances that every customer's in. But there's different strategies to go after that for sure.
Awesome, Felix. Well, thank you so much for joining us and taking time this morning. We appreciate you getting on. Where can people reach out if they want to find out a little bit more?
Well, you can reach us at our Kinco website if you're interested in better understanding some of the things that we're working on. We've got an innovation lab as well that's out there, and you can always reach out to me as well. I'm available on LinkedIn and out in the marketplace.
Awesome. Well, Felix, we appreciate your time, and thank you so much. We'll have you come on and give us a little bit of an update later on.